Hello, everyone. I hope everybody's doing fantastic. This week, with the Divine Healing and Ascension Masterclass, we are talking feminine wounds and how you can balance, right? How you can balance the masculine and feminine energies within you, right? So, some things that we can expect from this week. What are they, right? What are feminine wounds, right? What is the divine feminine and masculine? How do they show up when they're healthy, as well as how do they show up when they are wounded, right? We're going to talk about the whore, bitch, and witch wounds, how these wounds show up in your life, and then how we can heal these wounds, right? Okay, so feminine wounds, what are they? So feminine wounds, they exist in almost every female on the planet, honestly. Like women carry around the weight of what it means to be a woman, what you can do, what you can say, and how you're supposed to dress or behave, right? How you're supposed to feel, right? These slights have been ingrained in our heads through years of conditioning from not only our parents and teachers, coaches, friends, boyfriends, spouses, but the media and society as a whole. And all of these combine together and leave wounds, right, that hold you back from expressing your full and most authentic you. Right. These are wounds that just sit inside all of us because society has ingrained it there, right? Or our ancestors, like our mothers and grandmothers, have told us what we're supposed to do. So these wounds live deep within us and really prevent us from moving forward. And as I've mentioned before, right, all of these things kind of build up upon each other, right? So it's not only just, a feminine wound, but it's also inner child wounds. It's shadows that show up, right, based on some of these inner child wounds, right? And not only that, but it's past lives that whether we were considered a witch in a past life, things like that, they all sit within us and truly sort of prevent us from moving forward and expressing ourselves exactly as we need to be expressed, right? Because we all, as we know, so we all have both masculine and feminine qualities. We all do, right? It's yin and yang. We all have both, right? And when these two aspects are working harmoniously within us, right, we're able to live with ease and flow. And when we have wounds to both of our masculine and feminine sides based on things we heard, right, saw or learned, right, what it meant to be a man or a woman, right? It's those gender roles that society has put on us. It's those roles that we show up and we believe, depending on, how things how we learned them, right? So these wounds exist around such as dysfunctional relationship with our parents or caretakers, how our parents showed up. Again, the roles that they took or didn't take, right? I grew up in a family with a very 1950s style mother, right? She didn't work, she stayed at home, she took care of the kids. My dad was like the working guy. Dinner was expected to be on the table at 6 o'clock. My mom was the one that took care of the home and all of the children and all of those roles. And so she was a very sort of, it was that feminine mother role, right? It was that role, right? And so my father was the very masculine. I bring home the bacon, she cooks it up in the pan, right? So that was how I lived, right? As a child, that's what I learned and grew up. However, right, I also had a father who was like, no, 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 that's not who you are. You're going to be a much more productive person in society. I want you to do more. I don't want you to get married and pregnant right out of college or high school, right? Go do something more, right? So it's funny because I had these competing thoughts and ideals in my head as I was growing up. And my father was sort of like, do as I say, not as I do. And so that provided some conflict within me, right? So also we get cultural and societal messages that we receive daily, right, about what it means to be masculine and feminine, right? I mean, there was a huge uproar over sort of, I think Target went to gender neutral clothes. And this was a few years ago, right? And there was a big uproar like, well, why can't we just say that this is a boy and this is a girl, right? You know what? I have a daughter who loves blue. She loves wearing boys' clothes, right? And my son, also super, he's an athlete, but his favorite color is pink. Great, right? And I'm trying to really embrace that and be like, you can be whatever you want. Like colors are not gender specific, but society still has these things where they say, no, 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 no. Blue is for boys and pink is for girls and blah, right? It's all of that. And so I'm really trying to raise my children to know that no, that's not how it's going to work in this household, right? You can be whoever you want. You can express yourself in whatever way you want. There's also messages around sexual identity and sexual preference, orientation, and those traditional gender roles. Again, The LGBTQ, right? It's that whole group like has long been suppressed in our society. And so it's really about you may need to heal a lot of that too, to sort of own the fact that like, no, I'm different and that's okay. Wounds from sexual encounters, trauma, right? When we are molested, right? When we are sexually abused, all of that, right? When we have a dysfunctional sexual relationship in our past, all of that comes out and wounds us deeply, as well as again any trauma or abuse that we've experienced in our lives. And that can be mental, emotional, spiritual, right? All of it exists and ends up wounding us deeply. So this kind of graphic just sort of shows you that, and this exists within all of us, just so you know, like this is not just so the empowered masculine is only for men. No, this is, we combine these two things and we are both, when we're both empowered from a masculine and feminine side, that is where that sort of alignment and that balance really lives. So our empowered masculine side, right, is grounded and secure and feels it's physically safe, right? It's very future focused, purposeful, action oriented, logically guided, thinking, focused, right? And gives easily, right? The wounded masculine side is unstable and controlling, might be overprotective or over functioning, right? You force things, right? It's like, I'm going to make it work, right? You force it. Power struggles, right? The win or lose mentality, forceful manipulation, over selfishness, arrogance, overconfidence. You overanalyze things or you overgive, right? So often in our heart chakra, right? Women, we end up giving too much of ourselves, right? And that's like a part of a wounded masculine energy, to be very honest with you. And most people are like, oh, that's weird because most women do this, right? But it's part of our masculine side of that giving, right? So the empowered female, this is like who, when she's healthy and fully expressed, she's flowing and free and she feels emotionally safe. She lives in the present. She's full of play and relaxation. She's intuitively guided, right? Her feelings are, extremely focused, and you receive, right? Healthy receiving, right? So we give and receive both, right? That's what the balance is, right? The wounded feminine, it feels trapped and helpless, right? There may be an emotional codependency there, right? You might feel distracted or scattered, lack of responsibility, procrastination, laziness, doesn't trust herself, ignores her feelings, ignores her intuition, and might be impulsive. Or you feel unworthy and unable to receive, right? So all of these things live without inside us. And when we can see where we're wounded, again, that awareness is super key. Okay. So here we go. See, awareness of our wounded self, right? When we see these wounded aspects of ourselves, either masculine or feminine, we can begin to repair and heal these unhealthy patterns and stop projecting them out onto the other people in our lives, right? Right? That like the goal is to not sort of like put that out there. The unhealthy masculine feeds off the unhealthy feminine and vice versa, right? And this usually results in codependency. This also is how we end up in the relationship sometimes that we're in, right? We've brought those in because that other person is like, it's the mirror almost of us, right? Oh, so again, awareness is key in seeing what needs to be healed so that you can step into your divinity, both as a masculine and feminine. So we're really going to talk about the feminine wounds here, because I want to get into, because there's so much stuff to say, really. So wounds to our feminine side can stem, again, not only just from early childhood, but can actually also be a result of generational wounds, right? We talked about those last week, as well as the past lives that maybe we've lived, right? Here's some examples of where those wounds have roots. Again, dysfunctional family dynamics in childhood, featuring yelling and anger and shame and guilt and blame, right? If we hear discouraging words from our coaches, teachers, partners, bosses, and now online bullies, right? It's the people that objectify us, right? You post a simple, lovely picture of yourself, and all of a sudden you have all these like weird, dirty pervs like commenting like, hey, sexy, right? And you're just like, ew. So now we have a whole other level that we didn't have previously, living through toxic relationships in all forms, right? So we can have toxic relationships not only with our parents, right, and our spouses, we can have them in all forms. We have toxic friendships, right, where there's a codependency there and we feed off the drama within it, right? So all of those things can result in feminine wounds. Religious indoctrination and gender roles, right? When we are raised in the Catholic Church and it's okay, well, priests are these like, they're revered people, right? And it's only men. Only men can be the top. of the Catholic Church, right? And again, this is not a statement around any kind of religion, really, just putting that out there, because you can have religion and still like focus on clearing these feminine wounds. My point is, though, is that there's indoctrination there that we hear and we think, oh, well, I can't be strong and powerful in the Catholic Church because I'm not a man. Right. This all sits within us. And that's like it comes out as an express, and we're suppressed, right, by some of the messaging that we receive from religion. And then we have past lives too, where maybe you were persecuted for being a witch, a harlot, a whore, a slave, a concubine, right? And some of those cords still live within us, right? We still have these like energetic DNA soul level memory of these wounds. Okay. So the wounds that we experience are often related to powerlessness, right? We feel powerless, right? Oh, well, what am I going to do? I'm only a girl. How am I going to get out of this? It's manipulation. We need to provide sexual services to receive love or something we desire, right? It's that sexual currency, worthiness, shame, guilt, lack of confidence, frustration, anger, rage, power struggles, and perfectionism, right? So again, needing to provide sexual services, this is also sort of where perfectionist lives, right? When we need to it's that conditional love, right? I need to do something in order to receive love rather than I receive love exactly as I am without having to provide a service, or to show up perfectly, right? So then there's the witch, bitch, and whore wounds, and these all live in different aspects within ourselves. The witch wound relates to our intuition and our uniqueness, right? Society is always trying to homogenize its citizens. We all want everybody to be the same, right? That's what normal is, right? We want them all to be normal, whatever the fuck normal means, right? When women stand up as unique and creatively powerful individuals, right, they're labeled as a witch, right? The Salem witch trials were right. It's these women who were like, I'm not going to stand for like the suppression of my rights, right? It's I'm going to stand up and do something different. And they were like, oh, you're getting too powerful. You know what? You're a witch, right? Not only that, but creating a feeling that but this witch wound creates a feeling that you need to conform to be considered normal or acceptable. It's judgment, right? You feel like you have to hide yourself, your true self, in order to be accepted in society. The bitch wound relates to relationships and how we express love. We are taught that our value and identity is intimately tied to fulfilling the needs of others. As women, right? The maternal instinct. Oh, well, we have to go and take care of everyone, right? We fulfill the needs of others. Who cares about yours? Who cares about whether or not you need something, right? That's why it's so important to keep your cup filled, to make sure you carve out time every single week to take care of yourself, because we often end up taking care of everyone else ahead of us, right? Standing up and demanding that your needs are met or are as just as important labels you as a bitch, right? Or women end up using passive aggressive tactics in order to avoid this label, right? Well, I don't want to be called a bitch, so I'm going to suppress this piece of me, or I'm going to get around that by acting passive aggressive. Okay. The whore room relates to our sexuality, right? We're told that our worthiness is related to our attractiveness and our potential as mates. The virginal aspect is where you're shamed as whores for expressing your sexual desires, right? When we are fully in alignment, we are fully expressed, we can say, yeah, I'm a sexual being. I have needs too, right? And yet society is like, oh, well, no, you're a whore. Oh, you want to, when you're in high school and you're like, yeah, I have needs. Yeah, I want to like have sex. Yes, I have hormones, right? And it's okay for boys. It's okay for boys to sleep around, to be players, right? But women, oh no, nope, you're a slut, right? It's the slut shame, right? It's all of that virginal aspect. We all want women to show up as these virginal beings, and that's not who we are, right? We have both sides of us, right? So society has long used this whore wound, right, to repress women, right, with this methodology, right? It suppresses us and it keeps us sort of confined and keeps us, in a box. So again, ways that these wounds show up: shame, fear, self-hatred, body dysmorphia, right? When we don't feel beautiful, we keep dieting, we keep, it's anorexia, right? It's those eating disorders. It's attracting harmful or abusive relationships because that's what you think you're worthy of. Self-harm, addictions, isolation, mental illness, feeling like a black sheep, not only in your family, but maybe in society as a whole, right? Or you suppress your feminine side to fit into a working male dominated society. So, as women, especially in the corporate world, you suppress a lot of the feminine aspects of yourself in order to get ahead. Right? You need to be domineering. You need to be like super aggressive, right? Heaven forbid you show an emotion in the office, right? We end up suppressing all of that because we feel like, especially in the corporate world, we have to show up a certain way in order to be respected and taken seriously, as well as sexual dysfunction, right? We end up using sex as a weapon, or we end up not feeling like we can truly express ourselves sexually. So, again, some of the expressions of the wounded feminine, right? We leak energy on things and activities that we don't want to do, right? We do stuff we don't want to do all the time, right? We have weak boundaries around our self-worth, authenticity, and values, right? We let people walk all over us sometimes, right? Without even meaning to. It's just like, okay, we sometimes just go, it's fine. I'll do it. I'll take care of it. I'll clean up the mess. Oh, Sally Sue, she'll do it. It's fine. Let her handle it, right? Seeking safety and security outside of yourself, right? And this is where we feel like, oh, I need to have a man in my life in order to feel safe and secure. Heaven forbid I take control of my life, right? Heaven forbid I make choices on what I want to do. I need to have a man who can support me, or a woman, even, right? I need to have someone in my life who can take care of me, right? We avoid risks and failures rather than being committed to our vision, right? You'd rather play not to lose than playing to win. It's that level of mediocrity, right? Where you're afraid of failure, but you're afraid of succeeding even more. You're afraid to say no, right? I don't want to be considered a bitch. Oh, I don't want to come off as mean, or I don't want people to not like me. No is a complete sentence, right? Or you're being submissive and manipulative, right? You need to control or deeply mistrust and have anger at masculine energy, men, money, anything that's meant to support the feminine energy in their creativity. That's the wounded masculine aspect, right? That comes in that I talked about earlier, right? Or you're afraid to speak your truth. You lack self worth and self love. All of these are expressions of when we are wounded. Okay. So, how do we heal these, right? One is be honest with yourself. When you're honest and accept where you are, then you can truly move forward. How do you feel about yourself? How do you feel about your body, your intellect, your sexuality, how you fit into society? How do you feel about all of those things, right? There's some journaling prompts in the PDF for this month that's going to get into this, or this week, sorry. That it's like, how do you really feel about your body, right? Your body is divine, right? It is a human package that's carrying your soul around, right? But how do you feel about it, right? Work on healing your relationship with your feminine ancestors, those grandmothers, your mother, right? Forgive these outdated beliefs that your ancestors had. Remember, women in our society didn't have the same rights that we do now, right? Your mother and grandmother didn't have the same rights that we do, right? Again, we couldn't have a credit card and a bank account in our own damn names until like the 1960s and 70s, right? We were suppressed, right? Especially in the United States, right? Make pleasure a priority, doing what makes you happy and fills you with joy, right? Doing more of that heals this. And yes, sex and masturbation count. Okay. Get creative. Move the stagnant energy in your sacral chakra. The sacral chakra is where so many of our feminine wounds live, and healing that, right, really does allow us to be more creative and inspired and tapping into our intuition. Open your heart chakra to receive more, right? Stop giving and giving and giving and giving until you have nothing left. Open your heart up and say, it's okay. I'm ready to receive the love that I know that I'm deserving of. I'm receiving the compliments, right? I'm receiving the gifts that people want to give me, the help and assistance that they want to give me instead of trying to do it all on your own. Heal those negative thoughts and feelings about not only masculinity, but femininity as well, right? Dig in, right? How do you really feel about men, right? And masculinity and what it means to be dominant in order, like, how do you feel about all of these aspects that I talked about earlier when it comes to the masculine and feminine sides, right? Heal those. Balance is really the goal here, right? We want to be in balance. And as a woman, your feminine energy is always there. even when it's not fully expressed. It just may need to be reawakened, right? And when you do reawaken this aspect of yourself, your energy, it's going to be more intuitive. You're going to be more compassionate and loving and nurturing and creative and inspired, sensitive and empowered, right? But again, we need to be in balance. So, our homework for this week is one, listen to one of the healing feminine wound meditations that's in our meditation vault that's out in the membership group. Write a letter to yourself. What do you love about yourself? What do you wish was different? What do you wish, what do you dislike about yourself? Right? Write it all down. Again, awareness is key. It helps us to heal all the things, really. When we hide it and we ignore it, like that's when we're just suppressing it, right? When we are aware that we have a problem or we have a wound or we have something that, oh, I need to fix and heal this to be fully expressed, that's where healing can happen. Do something creative or pleasurable this week. Do something that brings you joy, happiness, right? That makes you laugh, right? Sex, right? Do something that brings you pleasure, right? And it not just pleasure in masturbation, if that all, if you don't have a partner, but also just what do you love to do, right? Do something this week that you love to do. And you should do it every week, to be very honest. And then again, utilize the journaling prompts that are available for you in the PDF. What needs healing, forgiven, or accepted? Right? Because sometimes we just need to accept that this is who we are, right? Instead of suppressing it. This is who I am. This is as feminine as I get, and that's okay. Right? It's okay to be you exactly as you are, as feminine as you are, as masculine as you are, right? All of those sides. It's your balance, right? It's not my balance. It's not Sally Sue's balance. It's your balance. That's key, right? Is how are you in balance, right? That's the key. So hopefully all of this homework, you can tap into that and really get into it. And I will see you during our live later this week. So I hope you have a fantastic week ahead. And I will talk to you guys all soon. Thanks very much.